All right. Well, hi, everybody. Hi. Welcome to the SAP Book Club. And our book of the month is published by SAP Press, and it is titled Migrating to SAP S4HANA. And we're lucky enough to have two of the authors from the book here with us, Frank Finkbohner and Boris Rubarth. But we also want to thank everyone at SAP Press for allowing us to be part of the team and also giving us our own discount code. Yes, everybody, you can get 15% off this book with our book club discount code. Put in book club 15. So a big thank you to SAP Press on that. So whoop, whoop. I've never had my own coupon code before, so I think that's pretty cool. And so anyway, so if you don't know who I am, you will now. My name is Kendall Tyler, and I am the host of the SAP Book Club. And I'm also the glamorous model that you see all over LinkedIn, reading books to animals. So yes, that's me. And for our current book, we had the lizard, we had some chickens, I had a donkey, I had a pony, a goat, and a couple dogs. And so
and the dragon, wasn't there a dragon as well?
The dragon. The dragon was the lizard. Yeah, the lizard's the dragon.
Oh, okay.
So we did a poll online and everybody loves the dragon. That was their #1 poll favorite. However, the goat, the goat had over 10,000 LinkedIn views. So 10,000 people were looking at me and the goat. And so that was like total #1. Even LinkedIn called me and said like, oh my gosh, your post with the goat. I was like, oh no, I don't know. So anyway, so since the book club is my volunteer job, I don't get paid to do any of these crazy things. My real job is with Genesis 10, and I'm an SAP sales and account rep. And so what I do is I work with customers like all of you guys there and discover solutions. And I also introduce you to top SAP talent and IT talent and figure out ways of putting teams together in the form of projects or just a contractor consulting, spot consulting, contract to hire, or if you're lucky, I'll help you out with a full-time employee too. So just remember, you're only as good as who you know. So just remember that. So anyway, but today I have two amazingly talented guys who work for SAP Germany. Yes, everybody, we've got Germans here today. So they do have German accents, and but they're going to help us with they're the authors of the book. And I wanted to say welcome. And I learned in German, it's called Willkommen.
Hey. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's correct.
How do you say welcome? Willkommen?
Willkommen, exactly.
Willkommen.
Yes, I did. I'm good.
You are prepared.
I'm prepared. I know. I was like, how do you do German? I don't know. So first we have Frank, and Frank, so that's Frank. And Frank is the product owner for the development of the predefined SAP S4HANA Cloud data migration content for SAP S4HANA Migration Cockpit at SAP. He's the product owner. He's been working at SAP for the past 22 years. He also developed a specific method for grouping migration projects into work packages called CMAP. He's also authored 8 other SAP data migration books. And did I miss anything there, Frank?
No.
Not it? Okay.
Yeah, no, you can only say that I was 13 years at the consulting and doing data migration at the customer.
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, he did work at, they let you out, huh? They let you out.
So I know what I'm writing.
Oh, yes, he does, definitely. definitely knows what he's talking about. And so now we also have Boris, and he's been working at SAP over in Germany for the past 22 years as well. He is a product manager. He's responsible for software update manager and manages the knowledge transfer to the SAP community and user groups. He's also authored 3 SAP books, and he creates countless blogs and training courses on SAP. He's a regular speaker on system conversions at various international conferences.
Thank you. Yes.
Boris, how do I do? Is that you?
That's it. That's it.
So, you know, one thing is you can read a book, you can read like little, you know, things about, hey, what have you done? But I want to know one thing about yourself that most people don't know. So I'll start with me first, and then you two can go. So I'll give you an example of how this works. So, for me, my thing that people don't know, most people, well, you might know, is that my mother and I are the founders of All-Star Cheerleading. And my uniform is in the Cheerleading Hall of Fame, and I'm the first All-Star cheerleader ever. Isn't that hilarious? So that whole great big, you know, the girls with the great big bows in their hair on TV and ESPN. That's me. I'm going to start. My mom started the whole sport. So anyway, all right, Boris, what about you? What is your fame to claim that no one knows?
Well, I like being on the stage. I guess that's known. I've been doing some sessions on SAP TechEd, especially when we were on site there. And I did some juggling there when I'm on the stage. I try to incorporate there some juggling balls. But I guess some of the audience have seen me there. Maybe something that no one has seen is on TechEd, I think 2019, the famous Björn Görke, our Chief Technology Officer, was doing the key statement, the opening of the SAP TechEd. There were 3,000 or 4,000 people sitting around. And then at the end, there was a band playing Back to the Future from Huey Lewis, and I was playing the drums.
Oh my God!
Yes, that was really an amazing moment. But you see, when you're playing the drums, you're sitting in the background, no one sees you. And so I just wanted to mention it. That was a big life moment for me, playing the drums with Björn Görke. Yeah.
Wow, that's impressive. Well, Frank, can you beat that?
No, definitely not. That's nothing I can beat. When I had my first, let's say, virtual session about data migration, I guess it was in 2006, it was in front of 6 people. Because in parallel, we had the European Championship for football. And all the people were sitting in the cantina and watching on a big screen Germany against, I guess it was Serbia.
Oh no!
So I had a really no big audience, 6 people, and
that was your first big event.
That was my big first event, 6 people.
You are so hilarious.
And 3 of them were hosts and other people with the technicians.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Well, let's get into the book about migrating to SAP S4HANA. So this is how it's going to work, everybody. So first I'm going to ask Frank and Boris some questions, and then we're going to open it up to let our viewers ask questions. So you guys start thinking about all the questions that you would like to ask, and maybe I'll cover some before then, but you never know. So one thing I wanted to know, you know, I believe it or not, here's the book. If you haven't seen it, it's pretty thick. I read it. I actually did read it. Look, I even like flagged little pages on it and highlighted. So some of the things that I had questions on were like, your book explains like the whole brownfield, the greenfield approach, but what's with the blue field approach? Was there a specific reason why you didn't include that in your book?
Definitely, yes. So it's in the book, but it's just within, I guess it was in chapter 4 within the book. It's the selective data transition. And the reason why we, let's say, skipped it a bit from the book is more that Bluefield is used by several different companies for not always doing the same. It's more a commercial offer from SAP and other companies. So Brownfield, that's clear what it is. Greenfield, that's clear what it is. And Bluefield is, yeah. So the thing is, if you want to make a Bluefield, then you have to first check out which product I would offer, not offer, buy, or which is the company I have to go for the Bluefield thing. And every company has a different flavor of doing the Bluefield data migration, so that is selective data transition. So that means if you want to explain Bluefield, you have to check out all these different products from different companies and what do they offer and all these things and what are the costs of this. And that's why we then decided, okay, we just explain it on high level, what it is. And that's it, because yeah, it's.
No, I understand.
It would extend the book very much if we had included it.
Yeah, because also I was thinking about the whole brownfield approach. And so is it possible to use the brownfield approach to only partially convert the data from my SAP ERP source system?
Yeah, that's an important point. And that's a distinguishing part between brownfield and selective data transition, as the name says. So for the brownfield or the system conversion, it's actually a one-to-one transition. We have one source system, one SAP ECC system, and it's completely converted to SAP S4HANA. So with the system conversion approach, there's not the possibility to only convert or migrate part of the source data. That's the big benefit and the home turf of the selective data transition, where you can carve out things, where you can even merge several source systems into one target system. So you see, selective data transition, as Frank has already mentioned, there are different flavors of blue, different approaches, scenarios to use this. That's why it's quite a broad area with different offerings. And this is a difference to, well, again, the brownfield approach is a one-to-one transition. Everything that's in the source system will be converted. Of course, you have the possibility to reduce the source system size by archiving, for example, but the technology as such is taking everything it's finding in there.
Gotcha. I also was wondering about the whole Unicode thing. So like, it mentions that, so do I have to be Greenfield if my source code is not in Unicode? Yeah,
good point. Unicode is a long story. Well, the prerequisite that we have now for the source system, for the technical conversion, is that it is already Unicode. Well, but what's the consequence? The prerequisite is Unicode for the one-step conversion that we have with our software update manager. So if the source system is non-Unicode, you do not have to choose another transition scenario, but you will have to do the Unicode conversion beforehand in a, let's say, small project. And afterwards, you can start from this system then on Unicode to have this one-step conversion to SAP S4HANA. So Unicode or not Unicode is not the decisioning part, which scenario to choose, brownfield, greenfield, or maybe selective data transition.
So one thing was, when we're all thinking about going and, because I talk to customers all the time and I'm like, so have you gone? When are you going to go? Some are like, I'm not going until when I retire, they can do it. I've heard all that. I've heard everything. But I always wondered what team members would be involved in the migration. Like, who would what would their roles be? And like for the team, like if I'm going to put together a team that's going to do this, who would they be?
That depends on the greenfield and the brownfield approach. So for the greenfield approach, the first thing is that you need to have someone which is familiar with data migration. So that's, you need an own, let's say, manager normally, or someone who's managing the data migration. So he needs to know what he is doing and what task you need to execute, and what are the most traps you can fall in for the data migration. So he has to organize the complete data migration. So that's the main person you really need to have. Then the next thing is you need to have some people running the data migration. So you need to have the people doing the extraction on the legacy system side, and you need to have the people who is doing then the data run on the target side. So, but it's not all the things. The most thing is you need to have the clerks. So you need to have the people which know the old system. So that means you need to have the people who is normally entering a sales order in the old system or something else. So you need to have them that they tell you, for example, if you have the purchasing organizations, or you have a purchaser that is within the legacy system 1000 something, and then it needs to be mapped to a new key then in the S4HANA system, or the target system, let's call it this way. And so you need to have someone who is mapping the values. So, and yeah, that's normally, let's say, all of these people. And don't forget the IT people. You need to have someone in the IT that is stopping the backup, or doing all the other technical stuff that is needed to run both the legacy system extraction and the target system data load. So nobody else than the people who are doing the data migration should be on the system in the time the data migration runs, just to don't break up any things there with people entering sales orders, and then the complete sales order data migration is going down or is breaking or something else.
So it seems like a total group effort, all the way from IT, you know, putting installing to, I noticed there was a lot of project management as far as all of your, I mean, you guys had like, what are they called? The simplification list, you know, going through all of that, then going through the readiness check and some prerequisite check, extended. Is there differences between those?
Yes, Boris,
yeah, maybe I can jump in and continue what Frank has said, and then come to the actual question. I'm rather an IT guy or a technical guy, so my perspective nevertheless is the same. We have the software update manager that is driving the technical conversion. So it's a tool that is already well known, and administrators that know the tool, they may start a conversion project and say, well, I know the tool, I've learned the delta, and now we go on. But then they will very fast learn that the system conversion, for example, is not only a technical conversion. You have mentioned the simplification item list. So SAP S4HANA is different. We have taken this transition path from the business suite world to the new world of SAP S4HANA, and we have adapted things. We have simplified things. That's why it's called simplification. And we have reduced some features where we had a choice between different features. That's why it's important. It's not only a technical conversion, it's also to be considered from the line of business. And that's important to start from the very beginning, from the technical side and the line of business, to ensure in the project that the colleagues are there. I can start the tool as an IT colleague, the software update manager, and then the tool tells me, well, there's a simplification item that is not solved. Nothing that I can solve. So I need my colleagues, so they have to be part of the project. That is a kind of continuation of the other question. And then you have mentioned the simplification item check. You have mentioned the SAP readiness check. We have lots of checks. And maybe sometimes it's a bit confusing. If this is the case, then I have an idea. You read the book.
You've got one too.
to be serious, well, the SAP readiness check is the big umbrella that covers as much of the other checks as possible to get the complete overview. So we recommend to use the SAP readiness check whenever you have the idea to go to SAP S4HANA. Maybe you even did not decide on the approach to see, well, what is the effort? And maybe it turns out the effort for the system conversion is pretty high, for example, based on a lot of modifications, a lot of custom code in the source system. That reflects one of the questions in the chat. If the system is heavily modified, if there's a lot of custom code, you may use the readiness check with custom code analysis to find out, well, we should consider the greenfield approach as well, as there we install a plain new SAP S4HANA system without content and then move data in there. That could be a reason. But again, what's the difference to the prerequisite check extended? Another of those checks in there, described in the book. Well, the software update manager is the technical engine, you can imagine. The readiness check is a kind of very early view. So you have a possibility to take a plane and have an overview on all the landscape. But then you're not starting the engine. The prerequisite check extended is really starting the engine, the software update manager, that would in the end convert your system. But you tell the tool, wait a minute, do not do the technical conversion yet, but try it out. See if the system is ready, if there are any.
That was the trial thing, right? That was the trial.
A kind of trial. So it's executing everything what we call in uptime. So it's not entering the downtime. You can still use the system, but it's checking important checks on the real system that have to be handled, and gives you a list. And then you have a list of items to work on in parallel. Instead of starting the real conversion, finding an issue, finding the right colleagues to solve it, continue the real conversion, get the next issue again, find the colleagues. The prerequisite check extended collects the major items. And then you have a list to work on in parallel.
Yeah, because aren't a lot of like the customization people have done is already in, y'all have already put that in. So they can just get rid of that. And it's like, we don't need that. We already have, that's part of the new version. Or like things that they wanted. Like I saw that the material number has been increased. Why did you increase the material number from 18 to 40? Was there?
Yeah, there were good reasons for this. Is the answer, and if you do not really know it, well, it's an application area question. I guess there were some real requirements to have a longer length of the material number there. And so we took this opportunity. A good example, in the old world, it was not possible to say, well, suddenly with a new enhancement package of ERP, we extend this. This is a drastic change. So we took this opportunity. Now we have enough characters for all the scenarios, for the new scenarios that came up. And that, again, is then a change that is described in what we call the simplification item list, listing all the simplification items. And it's one of those checks as well, checking especially your custom code, whether it's well designed to handle this change or whether you have to adapt it.
Yeah, I was looking also, y'all were talking about like spreadsheets, you know, when you're looking at all the data, like things like just a font change, or there could be a formula in there or something. And then if you converted it in, it would just mess everything up, that everything's going to be really, really checked, you know, make sure it's looked at.
Yeah, that's the, let's say, one of the most issues with the data migration templates. They look like an Excel, but indeed they are XML files. So that means it's a small piece of, let's say, database. And the thing is, if you add formulas or make any change within the template itself, being it just changing the font or just putting these columns to that side and all the other things, deleting columns and all these things, if you just do these things, then you are corrupting the XML structure often. And the thing is, if you corrupt the XML structure, especially if you have these specific numbers or date formats, And if a date format is then going back that it's not a date anymore, but a string, then it could happen that if you import these things, that your, let's say, the European thing that you have the date before the month and then the year. So 1st of April, 2021, that it turns to the English version. So that the 1st of April is then the 4th of January in the end. So that works. But if you have the 21st of December and it turns to the 12th of the 21st, then it doesn't work anymore. Let's say it this way. And if you just make changes to the template, then it can completely corrupt your template. So the better way is then you have a separate Excel, then you do all the things, and then you copy it back to the template, but just only copying the values. No formulas, no fonts, no formatting, nothing else, just the values. And then it normally works.
Interesting, because that seems to be, what was it, like, what is the biggest issue, or like, what is the, where is it? Yeah, what is the most common problem that customers are having with the data migration templates? I mean, just simple.
That's the most common problem is exactly that one, that they just make changes to the template. That's the most common problem. So I would say 30% of the people that we see in support having a corrupted XML file. So really? that they import things and then they wonder why strange things happens. And if you then just open the notepad and look on the structure of the XML file, you directly see that this is not a date anymore, which it should be, that's a string. And so the data conversion is then not working in the cockpit anymore, because the cockpit expects that this is a date. A date to a string to date conversion works, but as I said, it depends on the values. And that's the most common things. Other things is like with the translation. So that means it could be that your template is not translated into every different language that it would be. So you have the template. Normally you see all these things in the template. That's the tabs that are translated. You have also the things like the descriptions that are translated. And then you have the small place that we call in line 8, the so-called tooltips. So it's a longer description. And this might happen because of some technical issues we had, that this is not translated into your Italian, Spanish, or other languages. So, yeah, that's the colleagues in the translation are heavily working on this. So we have hundreds, thousands of texts and sentences to be translated here, because as you know, 40 languages in cloud needs to be translated, all these things. We have 220 data migration objects in cloud at the moment. So you can just sum it up, and then you have 500,000 of sentences.
Oh my gosh. So the bad projects come to you. That stinks.
Yeah. So
one thing, I know. Well, talking about the cloud, so, you know, what should be the selection criteria for a customer to select a consulting firm to go to the cloud? Like, who should how do they do it? How do you pick a partner?
To pick a partner, or just to check out?
And determine if you want to do it. Like, you know, if you want to go on-prem, or, you know.
Yeah, I guess normally that's the thing. Let's say if you are not having any SAP system before, so you cannot have a brownfield data migration, because you can, let's say, move your ECC to the SAP system. So that means if you don't have a brownfield data migration, you can also think about, okay, I can also go to cloud, because with the data migration cockpit, we support all, let's say, data migrations also from non-SAP systems. So the thing is, it's if you are coming from a non-SAP system, and let's say you are a company that doesn't have that much IT stuff. So, and you want to have, let's say, a fixed cost per month, and you don't want to, let's say, invest on much more IT and other things, then it could be a decision that you just say, okay, I just want to go to the cloud system.
Mm-hmm.
Because the costs are fixed, I can access it from everywhere. See the pandemic, you can access it from your home, just using a browser to get into the cloud. You don't need to have that much IT stuff that you had before, because if you have an on-premise system, you need also other things to provide it then to your people. So you just need to have the cloud, and then you can, sorry.
So
the internet,
what about
the
whole RISE for SAP, RISE with SAP? So it's not, you cannot do conversions with that. Is that right? Is that only for on-prem, or? I mean, I was
important point. The RISE with SAP is a hot topic these days, and actually with this program, with this initiative, we are targeting different environments. Typically, there is the first thought about targeting SAP S4HANA Cloud, but then we have also SAP S4HANA Cloud Private Edition. So the private cloud.
No, what is heck? Like, I hear that a lot.
What the heck is heck? Yeah, heck is HANA Enterprise Cloud. Yeah. So it's the offering from SAP to run systems there as well. You can first you compare this. So saying RISE with SAP may target the SAP S4HANA on-premise software at a hyperscaler. So we have these usual Google Cloud Platform, Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, Alibaba, and HANA Enterprise Cloud, as well as our own hyperscaler environment. So this proud cloud, private cloud edition is actually the S4HANA on-prem software running at a hyperscaler. And so coming back, the conversion is then possible from the on-premise ECC system in the customer landscape to the hyperscaler. So we combine there the conversion from ECC to S4HANA, and then the move to the hyperscaler as well. This is one step, and we typically use the DMO with system move in there. So DMO is the abbreviation for database migration option. The software update manager, the SUM tool, is the engine for the conversion. It has an option to also migrate from non-HANA to HANA database. So conversion, if the source system is not yet on HANA, it's not a prerequisite, then the software update manager will apply this DMO, will do the database migration. And then as an additional step to move to the hyperscaler, we use DMO with system move. So we convert, we do database migration and move the system to a hyperscaler of choice. This is what we call DMO with system move. And maybe I add one answer. There was one question in the chat from Nick.
Let's go to the chat.
Yeah, DMO with system move option is only to move to cloud, or can it be used to move from Unix on-premise to Linux on-premise also? Good point. So apart from the conversion story that we cover here in our migration book, DMO with system move is the possibility to move from one data center to a different data center as well. So the software update manager is not only the engine to drive the conversion, our topic here, but there are other scenarios like updates, upgrades, where the migration may play a role, and you can use DMO with system move there also to move your system to a different data center, even if this scenario is not a conversion. That would be the answer for the question from Nick.
There you go. Good.
Yeah.
Good. There's next. Y'all look at the next ones going on.
Yeah, there was the one before, because does the book supports migration from any version of SAP to SAP HANA? So I'm not sure if it is a typo, and the colleague just meant SAP S4HANA. Because SAP HANA is the database, so it's not the product, let's say this way. So if it's SAP S4HANA, then we can say yes. We are supporting all these different SAP products in the HANA world, be it the SAP HANA, so the on-premise edition, the SAP HANA Cloud, and the SAP HANA Cloud Private Edition.
And we can read this question from a different angle as well, saying, well, my topic, chapter 7 and chapter 8, system conversion. So if we focus on the system conversion, brownfield approach only, well, then we have some prerequisites for the ECC source system. System conversion is only converting an ECC system, so not the CRM system, not SRM and others. So we focus on SAP ECC source systems. And then we have minimum product version, that is ECC 6.0. So if I read the question, can we convert every possible source system? Let's say SAP R3 4.6c, good old times, out of maintenance anyhow, but well, we cannot.
You know, they're still running out there. People are still running those. I run into them, so.
Okay. Is it possible to have an ERP, an R3 4.6c source system and have in the end the S4HANA system? Yes, it's possible, but it's not a direct way. So you first have to move your upgrade your system to ECC 6.0. It has to be ECC 6.0. It has to be Unicode. It has to be ABAP single stack, no dual stack. And then we are ready for the one-step conversion. Well, if all the simplification items are handled.
What about that NetWeaver thing that's it's not supported in, there's a piece of NetWeaver that's not supported. What is never mind, I'll think of it, never mind.
Well, let me phrase my view on this. SAP NetWeaver is a part of the classical SAP Business Suite. Well, we had NetWeaver, you know, this story with, I'm not allowed to call it fridge, with the application server, with BW, with the portal, all these parts there, process integration as well. That's the old story. Of course, we have the software component SAP Basis. That's still there in a new version, but you cannot say the complete SAP NetWeaver is still living in the S4HANA world. We just have similar concepts for ABAP software components, Java software components.
Right. I knew something was different, like it supports the old system, but not the new system. So you had to.
You can say it. Yeah, okay.
What's the next one on there? Any migration tips for ECC that are heavily modified, operate outside standard best practice SAP Pros? Ooh. Is there a
I think we have touched this, and Javier has already acknowledged this, I think. So again, advertising the SAP readiness check, advertising this, although there's no cost for this, it's a good starting point to even consider to use different scenarios than brownfield. And then I see, does this book include data conversion of customer addresses data with DQM? Frank, any idea what this is?
Yeah, that's the data quality managing. That's a part of the SAP data services. And I guess that's the thing he mentioned. We have the rapid data migration with a new book. So, and all these let's say objects we deliver with the data migration, and explain the thing how to use the object and the data services. But as far as I know, we don't have the complete thing like how using the data quality management. That's something you have to have on top of the data services. It's something you normally have to buy. And that's the thing that you can just cleanse your address data. You can have then golden records and all the things, and you can just check the postal codes, and in US it's the zip code. and then cleanse all the things, the address data. But it's not, let's say, mentioned in detail how this is to be done in the book, because then it would really extend the book, and the book would then have more than 1,000 pages if we would also include all piece of different things there.
What's the next one on there? Planning to make NZDT available as one of the scenarios with DM.
Near zero downtime.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's mentioned, well, but it's an important point there. NZDT, that's one of our abbreviations. You know, we have a lot of them. Near zero downtime technology. So when it comes to the actual downtime of the system, it's crucial to have opportunities to reduce the downtime. And there are different approaches to achieve this. They are described in the book. NZDT, to be very precise, is an SAP service offering using a specific tool there. But we have a similar abbreviation, NZTM, near zero downtime maintenance. Quite confusing. That is a feature of the software update manager. So, and then again, DMO, another of those abbreviations, you know, database migration option. So the conversion as such is possible independent of whether the source system is already running on SAP HANA database or not. If it's not running on HANA database, then the software update manager will apply DMO, will do the database migration. And for this possibility, you can use downtime optimized DMO. That is the option. And you can not use near zero downtime maintenance, NZDM, because this is only possible if the source is on HANA database. And finally, NZDT is nothing that you can or a partner can use. It's an SAP offering. SAP experienced consultants will apply this, but this will be a project with a dedicated hiring then. That would be my answer on this part. And maybe just picking out the next one, because we have talked about the material length. I was saying, well, you were mentioning the material length is now 40. And can we activate the material length down the road later? Well, I'm not the application expert. I think there is a possibility to switch it on and off, but I don't think it's really feasible to do the conversion with the old length and then 2 years later switch it on, because there are interfaces affected as well by this material length extension. So I would recommend to take the decision during the technical conversion as such.
Yeah, and there's also an SAP knowledge base article about the material number field length extension called NMFLE. I just put the number into the chat, so if someone wants to read it completely. 22674140. That's the knowledge base article for MFLE.
Is that the material length?
Yeah, that's the material length extension that explains.
It says SAP note 2267140. Is that the one you got?
Yeah.
Check
you have read the book.
I did. I was looking at it.
Wow. Shall we just continue with the questions in the chat, Kendall?
Yep.
Please explain add-on compare check from source and target system. Maybe I start with it. Maybe Frank, you have an extension then. We have a conversion. It's more than an upgrade, and that means in the new world, SAP S4HANA, not all add-ons may be supported. SAP is working on supporting add-ons that are still required, but there are partner add-ons as well. That's why the check of the add-ons before the technical conversion is very important. There are, of course, checks. You know, we have lots of checks. SAP readiness check is doing a check. Actually, it's executing the check of the SAP maintenance planner.
Because I think you actually have to ask them, like, are they supported in S4, right?
Yeah, especially if they are non-SAP add-ons. And if SAP is not aware of, does not know the status, then you have to ask the add-on vendor, and you have to contact them, and they have to deliver a new version, or at least the information that the existing version is compatible. That has to be provided by the partner. This may take time. That's why that's one of the important points to consider in an early stage, so that this is not blocking, not stopping the execution. The latest barrier is the software update manager. Again, during the technical conversion, the tool will detect there are add-ons. And if the tool does not have any information whether they are supported, the tool will say, well, you have work to do. I will not continue. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my take.
To see, LTM got shifted from web-based to Fiori app in S4HANA.
Yes. Okay, so everyone knows the LTMC that is within the SAP S4HANA until 1909. So in 2020, S4HANA release, and in cloud, we have it since last year. So it's since last year, the data migration cockpit is available in SAP S4HANA Cloud only via the migration, the Fiori app. So the reason why it was shifted from being a web-based so-called WebDynPro app to a Fiori app was because of, let's say, a lot of different technical boundaries or limitations that you have with WebDynPro, especially also with the role-based model and all these things. And WebDynPro is also technically completely outdated, and we had a lot of technical issues then. And so that was then the decision by the colleagues to just completely renovate the cockpit and put it on into the last state of the art to run it on the Fiori app. And if you see the Fiori app in 2020 and in cloud, then you will see it has a lot of new things, especially things coming with the new 2021 and 2111 in cloud. You will see there are a lot of things that were technically not possible using it or having it within the WebDynPro based thing. And yeah, that's why it is now in Fiori app.
That's interesting. Because that was the big thing about how to use that, you know, the whole mapping part. I mean, what is different from, is this book different from ADM 328? Frank, did you write ADM 328?
No, I don't know ADM 328. So we have hundreds and I guess thousands of different courses. Maybe Boris knows.
Yeah. Say, Boris probably wrote that course.
Yeah.
No, I did not. But I know the course. It's a training course developed by a colleague, excellent trainer, instructor from SAP. So just to be explicit, it's an SAP training offering, a classroom training, 5 days, and it's covering the usage of the software update manager for either applying an enhancement package or to execute a system conversion. So how is this book different? Well, system conversion is only a part of the book, chapter 7 and 8. ADM 328 is only covering system conversion. If you compare this, of course, it's similar. Apart from, well, a book is a book, you can read it at night, and a training is taking place during the day, typically, and you have exercises. So different aspects from the topics, it should be similar, I would say.
You know that I think any company that is doing or going through a migration or going to do a migration or wants to do, if you are a manager out there, any of you guys watching, go tell your staff, you guys need to buy this book and make it like a project and say like, okay, we're going to do chapter 1. We're all going to read it, and then we're going to get together and we're going to review notes together. And that way everybody's on the same page instead of sending someone off to class. And then that one guy knows it. Then he comes back and says stuff and everybody's like, yeah, right. you know, you know, I don't believe you or whatever. I think like if you did took the book and then everybody kind of, you know, read it chapter, review together, read the next chapter, review together. I think everybody would be, I think you'd have a lot more projects successful because, you know, you were talking about, Frank, in the book, like, why are projects not successful?
Communication. That's about, normally it's communication. The whole thing is that people doesn't communicate. That's one of the things why people are, why projects are failing. The other thing is they completely underestimate the effort it takes, especially with the greenfield approach. They completely underestimate the thing. So they just want to do the data migration at the end. 4 weeks, they start 4 weeks before the go live, just to prepare for all these things. And then they are starting then to download extract all the data and putting it into the template. And then they have the first issues because they never use the cockpit, and then they have issues with handling the cockpit. Then they didn't
test. No testing?
No testing at all. They don't read the manuals. And all the things, they also miss the increasing of the line number 8 to read all the additional things in the tooltips. And but it's always with all data migration, even if it's ECC or ERP. If you start 4 weeks before you go live and to just move the data into the system or bring the data into the system in a greenfield approach, it will fail, definitely fail. Mm-hmm. And we have had a lot of very high tickets where customers just at Sunday in the morning, they started first time to migrate the data into the productive system and go live on Monday. That will never work. That will never work.
Don't you have like a 19-step approach in here somewhere?
Yeah, the CMAP approach. CMAP is just, let's say, a method that you just can, that you see, okay, you have the different kind of phases. For example, activate, you have the different kind of data migration phases, being analysis, implementation, data cleansing, and all these things. And each of these phases contains of different tasks that you have to have in mind and that you have to think about. And the CMAP is just a thing that you split all these tasks into different phases, and that you have it in mind to do it. And then you can also say, okay, some of the tasks are just, let's say, flat rate tasks, I call them. So just to determine what are my source systems, because a lot of people don't know their source system, especially in bigger companies with thousands of different source systems. What is the best source system to get the data and all these things? And this is something you can say, okay, I need to have 10 days to discover this. Other things like loading the data and all this thing, or preparing the mapping, this is per object. And if you then sum up all these, I need to have 4 hours for the material and 6 hours for the sales order and all these things. If you just sum up all these things, and in the end, you get the number 300. And then you see 4 weeks to go live. Doesn't work. So yeah.
Well, can't you also see like what applications you're not using? I mean, like there's no like, I mean, when you I mean, that's one of the things, like people aren't using those applications as, you know, the bolt-on systems are like, oh, I didn't know we had, or they had a program that, you know, was written so long ago that no one's alive that knows how to do anything with it, you know, but they're still running on the system. I mean, so I think, like you said, if you start testing this stuff, looking at it, where's it coming from, planning, that's huge, then you'll be successful. But just
exactly. Yeah, if you don't test, you cannot be successful. Or you have a lot of luck.
Let's see, the next one is we have a requirement to migrate the PO attachments from ECC to S4HANA. We're using BODS and ETL. Can you please explain how to achieve this?
Ooh.
Frank, can you do this?
Not really, because attachments is a thing that is more a thing that is really specific for the people which are handling our DMS, data management systems. So that's a really specific question that at the moment I cannot explain.
Let's archive that one.
Yeah.
Let's go to the next one. We're sorry, Kumar. We'll come back to you later. Jefferson, here we go. How long is the downtime on an average when you go live from ECC 6.0 to SAP S4HANA?
Okay, so for a system conversion, how long is the yeah, that's a very critical question. And of course, the nasty answer is it depends. It's really true. And we have another question later by Sanjay, the estimation of the system downtime. So it's a bit tricky. If you are familiar with the database migration in the classical world, you can say, well, the software update manager has the capability of specific migration rate. And then if you calculate the database size and have the migration rate, then you have an easy equation. Now, for the technical conversion to SAP S4HANA, it's different because we do not only update software components, we're also merging or transferring content from old tables to the new tables of the S4HANA data model. Famous table is AC.A. It's a new table only existing in SAP S4HANA, the universal journal. So the tool will have to move the content from old tables to the new tables. That's a new task, and now it depends on the amount of entries in the source system. It's not only the database size. By the way, some of this data conversion is executed by the software update manager. Some parts of this data conversion is to be done afterwards. And so it's not easy. And we are aware of this question. That's why there has been tremendous efforts by the development to give a better estimate there. So we have, first of all, in the SAP readiness check, where we have different tiles for different areas. Since some weeks, we have the planned downtime estimation or calculation. That is a good starting point. And the other thing that we have is technical downtime optimization app. So in the support portal Launchpad, there is an app that you can use to upload your statistics from run to get a comparison and even an estimate. So we are working on this to better guide you what the approximate downtime may be roughly. And there, by the way, we are depending on the feedback that we get from existing projects. The software update manager offers you to send feedback to us. And with this feedback, we get the statistics from the runs. The more statistics we have, the bigger the statistics database is, the better our prediction will be. So advertising this. The question still is, will a proof of concept will be necessary for the estimation or not? That was the last sentence by Sanjay. I'm afraid that's the thing that we still will have to have.
Yeah, but y'all just can't go blink and it goes in blink blink. That should be the name of your next migration. Blink.
Blink.
Done, blink. Well, it is all, time is up. Oh my gosh, it's been an hour. I told you guys how long it flies by. Unbelievable. But we will look at all the other questions and see if we can get those answered for you individually. So, but everyone, thank you so much for coming. And thank you, Frank. Thank you, Boris. And remember my coupon code. What is it? Book Club 15, which is pretty cool. Got a coupon code. But definitely, everybody, check out the book. A lot of information. I was like, oh my gosh. I was sitting in bed reading this going, oh my gosh, did you know this? So, but it's wonderful. Thank you so much. And I look forward to doing another book with you guys. And everyone, thank you so much for coming. So thanks. Have a great day. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much, Kendall.
You're welcome.